I always think that success is a choice, that everybody has the choice to be successful or not. They talk a lot about in sports about like the will to win. Everybody has the will to win, but what most people don't have is the will to prepare. And they don't have the focus, they don't have the discipline. And that's what we try to help people to do. There's only three things, Lisa, you can do with your money. You can save it, you can pay your bills, or you can spend it wildly, like a drunken sailor. So I think that that's the most important thing that you need to do is get people's values around money squared away.
For most people, I think it's a blind spot. You don't know what you don't know. I think it's a lack of awareness. They don't have the right people advising them. Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Lisa D. Murphy, and I get the pleasure today to continue the conversation with my amazing husband about Northeast Private Client Group and what exactly do they do over there. So, Mark, welcome. I love when we get to chat about all things finance. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm actually doing great.
Okay. So we talked about, on our last episode, we talked about real wealth. What is real wealth? And we talk about defining success in all areas. And we talked a lot about your ideal client, who are the people we love to work with. And then there's a whole other group out there, because I was part of the 1099 group, the group that doesn't automatically get their taxes taken out. And I want to say it's kind of scary how many people, Mark, I know who do not plan for a rainy day and they do not plan for retirement. And it could be financially devastating. And they may be doing really well right now, but they don't put money away for their children's college. They don't put money away if something should happen, and they don't pay taxes. Can you get into the vast population of people who just aren't prepared? What eventually happens? And what do you do when they come to you and they say, yeah, I make a lot of money right now, but I haven't paid taxes in a few years. I don't plan for retirement. What advice do you give to people that just don't know?
There's a lot tied up in that as well. But I think at the end of the day, I think success at every level is a choice. I always think that success is a choice, that everybody has the choice to be successful or not. And, they talk a lot about in sports about like the will to win. Everybody has the will to win, but what most people don't have is the will to prepare. And they don't have the focus, they don't have the discipline. And that's what we try to help people to do. And it may sound very simple or very pedantic, but there's only three things, Lisa, you can do with your money. You can save it, you can pay your bills, or you can spend it wildly. I say like a drunken sailor. And so the idea is that, one of the keys I've had to success is that I have taken 25% of my pre-tax income since I started working, and I've put that away in critical mass. And then I've paid all my bills and my taxes. And then whatever was left, I could spend. I thought I gave myself the permission slip to spend it, sometimes for good causes and helping out family members or charitable causes, sometimes with extravagant expenses or gifts or those things like that. But I had the permission slip to do whatever I wanted with the money because I took care of business first. And I think that probably the thing that I am least proud of in my career is I would see people early in my career and they would be in massive amounts of debt and be like one of those people you described. And I would get them out of debt and I would help them grow their business and double or triple their income and put a plan. And then you check in with them a year or two later and you hadn't doubled their problems. You 10x their problems because now they had more money to do damage with, that they had bad values around money. And until you can get people to have good values around money, it's like giving an alcoholic a gallon of vodka or a drug addict an 8 ball of cocaine. It just, all it did was enabled their behavior to be bad, but at levels that they never even thought of. So I think that that's the most important thing that you need to do is get people's values around money squared away.
You talked about the will to prepare. And I don't think it's a lack of will for most people. I think it's a blind spot. you don't know what you don't know. I think it's a lack of awareness, and they don't have the right people advising them. And I've seen so many people get taken advantage of when things were going great, and they didn't know. They invested in the wrong people. They not only invested in the wrong people, they paid a ridiculous amount of money for coaching from people who should never have been coaching. And they not only didn't prepare for retirement, but the money the money that they just wasted not knowing. Can you walk me through, if I came to you and I'm making significant money and I'm a 1099 and I have, a little bit of an overhead, but not a lot? How are you advising me? What is the strategy that we're going to do to set me up for success if I were to lose this income overnight?
Well, we talked a little bit on a previous podcast on we've trademarked the pyramid to create multi-generational life and a life by design. But I've also created a financial integrity scorecard of the 10 things I think people should be addressing and looking at. And we, in our scorecard, we usually keep the scorecard, and maybe we can even get a picture up of it during the podcast. But we rate these 10 things 1 to 10, 1 being red and danger. As it kind of moves down the line, a 5 or a 6 is kind of a yellowish, and then a 10 is optimal. And so those 10 things that I think people should be looking at in their scorecard is, the first would be liability protection. Do they have health insurance? Do they have life insurance or disability insurance? Do they have a proper, their businesses and proper LLCs or S corps? The second thing I want to look at if you're in business is, we call it paychecks and playchecks. Another word for that would be income replacement. Are you starting to put money away in things that will give you either a guaranteed or highly reliable stream of income to eventually replace your income at that job or at that company? Do you have paychecks and playchecks or income replacement? And do you have a plan in place to get that together long term? Number 3 is savings rate. I said to you, I save 25% of my pre-tax income. Maybe if you can't save 25, can you save 15? If you can't save 15, can you save 10? If you can't save 10, can you save 5? But the idea is, don't let perfect be the enemy of something that's very good. I don't know what your mortgage is or how much debt you have or how many kids you have in college, but the idea is savings rate is important, putting more money into the economic model. The 4th thing is true liquidity or cash confidence. The number 1 reason why people fail is they don't have enough liquidity. I've created a lot of my wealth when I had cash and other people needed cash. And I also have been able to sustain long term when we've had downturns in income because I have big cash behind me. Number 5 is a defined investment strategy. And this is not just where you put your 401k or your stock portfolio, but where else do you invest? Do you invest in yourself? Do you invest in your business? Do you invest in real estate? Do you invest in other things than the traditional investment? And have a really defined, articulated, thought out process. Number 6 is life insurance. Everybody should certainly have 10 to 20 times income with a minimum of 6 to 8. Number 7, especially if you're married and have children, do you have a will, trust, and have you done asset protection? Number 8, a global debt restructure. How much does debt consume your cash flow? Are there lower interest rates? Are there rates that are tax deductible? There's a difference between good debt and bad debt. And are you eligible for a global debt restructure as a way of freeing up cash flow and getting you out of some pain? Number 9 is an alpha tax strategy. Do you have a strategy that, as a patriotic American like you and I are, Lisa, we want to pay our fair share of taxes, but not one more penny than the government requires us to? And so the idea is, I don't think people are undertaxed, they're overtaxed. And so can you find legal, moral, ethical ways to minimize taxes in a proper way? And then last but not least, I like to refer to it as, who's your team, your rabbi, your mentor, your board members? Who are the people you surround yourself with that are helping advising you in life? A lot of people you mentioned that, they don't know where to go or, don't have great people around them. If they had those great people around them, they wouldn't be in the shape that they're in. And even people that are in good shape, if they had better people around them, would be even better shape. I think unfortunately for a lot of people watching this, I'm a very loyal person and I'm very loyal to people, as I'm sure most of the people watching this are. I know you are. But I think the dirty little secret is most of the people that help get you where you are not the people that are going to take you where you're going. And so I think you've not only got to make sure you've got a great team. And I look at my business and my team as a family like most people do, but I also look at it like a ball club where I want to get more first round draft choices. And I want to continue to upgrade the people that are around me so that I can be able to make better decisions and have access to better information. And I think that I would ask everybody, one of the things we ask our clients to do is we take this financial integrity scorecard, and there's 10 of them, and we ask them to grade themselves 1 to 10, and then figure out what we need to move the 3s to 5s or 6, and move the 5s and 6s and 7s to 8 and 9s and 10s, and create a true financial integrity scorecard.
Mark, what do you think about the people? And I know there's many of them, and we laugh about this a lot, and it's a serious matter. You kind of hoard cash. It's cash only, and they don't have any investments.
I don't take anybody lightly. I think money is never math. It's always psychological. You have to get to the psychological aspect of things. These people are now kind of dying off, but I remember people of my parents' age, the people that kind of went through the Depression, and they're the people before them. Their life was shaped by their experience of going through the Depression. And I think that's true for every single person. And I think part of it is to help them to understand why they think the way they think and give them the opportunity or even the permission slip to think about a better life or something that could be better. And I think that that's the skill of a great advisor, is to be able to help people to make sure that they have better choices or have the opportunity. And not only do they have the choices, but you've presented it in such a way that they give themselves the permission slip to make that alternative or a better choice a possibility.
One of the things that I see that your firm does incredibly well is throughout the interview process, as you're hiring and bringing on more and more advisors, and we're growing so rapidly right now, the age range. They can be from 20s to 50s, 60s, or even close to 70. It's the mindset around money. And I asked that question about the cash for you to talk about the psychological aspect of money, because it really is for the advisors across the board in your firm. It's how they choose to think about money and how they're able to help somebody uncover how they think about money. And again, to see those blind spots. We don't know what we don't know. And when somebody really puts it out there for us, it's like, why didn't I ever see this before? This is why I'm still at this level and I haven't jumped up 3, 4, 5 plateaus in my life. And I think that's something that is so incredibly unique to all of you. Is there anything that you want to add, or anything else that you want to touch on?
Well, to me, it's deep psychological things. I think first you have to understand, one, how people want information delivered. Some people are very visual. Some people are numbers oriented. Some people are emotional folks. There's lots of profiles out there. The one I'm most familiar with is this DISC profile. You have to really understand who people are and how they want information, because one size does not fits all. And then I think you have to dig into what the real issues are. I think a lot of it is people don't think they deserve success. People think that it's a way to stay connected to maybe people in their life that have not been successful. Maybe it came from a traumatic experience they had early in life that got them to think the way they're thinking. And I think part of it is, I always say I think I'm the highest paid psychologist in the country. I have no training as a psychologist, just 40 years of just really spending, 70 hours a week trying to help people navigate these very complex and always emotional issues. And I realize, as I said before, it's never math. It's always psychological. Every decision people think they're making with their head, but they're always making with their emotion, with their heart and with their emotion and their experience. And in terms of the people that we look to hire, I only look for three things. I look for people that have a little bit of energy. I look for people that have there's a little spunk, little spunk in their step. I look for intelligence, and I look for integrity. And I don't care if you have the first two if you don't have the third. Integrity is the one deal breaker of anything. I will not be in relationship with people, not only in my company but in my life, of people that don't have high integrity, because everything is about trust.
And I love when you always say, whenever people say, Mark, let's go do this or do that. And you say, first of all, it's not who I am, not doing it. And second of all, I handle people's money for a living. I'm not going there. And, I love it. And whenever you do that, people kind of stop dead in their tracks. Like, okay, what he does is really important to him. And it is. And one of the things I know that we both share this, probably me even more than you, is protecting the future generations and getting these kids to invest well really young. So we have a blended family. There's now 6 here because Gianna's boyfriend is a big part of our family as well. And Nick is 19 and he's investing already. And to open up those accounts, and it doesn't matter if you're single. People will say, well, why do I need life insurance? I'm single. You need to invest well. And that is one thing that I really pride ourselves on, that the kids are getting this. The kids know to take a certain amount of money and save it, put it away, invest it well, and then they balance their own finances to say, I have enough to go buy whatever I want. And I love that Nick says over and over, my goal is, it stuck out, Mom, from the first time Mark said it. I don't ever want to have to look at a price tag. If I want it, I want to be able to buy it. And it's why going to school full time, he's working and he's doing what he's doing, because we teach that, we preach that. And we also, being involved with Indiana University, and I'd love for you to talk about this, being on the board and seeing these young athletes, and there's so many incredible young athletes that make a lot of money really fast. And as quick as they make it, some of them lose it. And how it can also be a double-edged sword if you're not coached properly from the time you can walk about money, how this can be devastating for some people. Can you talk about instant wealth, people who get, maybe it's a trust fund, maybe it's a huge contract, how that also can be quite frightening for some people?
I think the one thing I'm concerned about with particularly those athletes, first of all, obviously, Bloomington, Indiana is my happy place. We're building an apartment there. We get to go to as many games as we can, both football and basketball, and some of the other sports as well. Soccer and women's basketball and all those things. I enjoy watching and seeing as often as I can. But having said that, as I'm worried with all this NIL money, that a lot of these kids are going to blow this opportunity to set themselves up for their future, because many of them will not make the NFL or the NBA or in non-revenue sports or non-professional sports, some of the Olympic sports and other things. And even worse, some of them are going to blow the money and not even pay their taxes and have the IRS on their back for the next 40 years, collecting these taxes because of a decision they made not to pay taxes or bad advice. And, I think you mentioned trust fund. I'm going to switch subject of that. Sometimes the things that that's one of the challenging things when you deal with people with money who have not earned it. It's one thing dealing with self-made people who are the first generation. I think the very hard challenge is sometimes when you have a second or a third or a fourth generation family is to make sure that the people in that family feel that they're worthy, feel that it's deserved, and feel that they have a purposeful life. because so much I think in life is the joy of the joy of success is the journey of the joy of success, not actually having the success. Not that you can't enjoy having the success, but the journey is much more fulfilling than actually getting there. And I think it's the same thing with that. And I think when people have come from a lot of money, that's the challenge you have to give to them. And so I think that regardless of whether you have no money, a lot of money, a little money, et cetera, everybody has different challenges, and you have to be sensitive to those and be able to help them to come around to make the best decisions for themselves.
I think one of the most rewarding conversations I've had with Nick, who's 19, he said, Mom, I just made my first big purchase. I bought a TV and I paid for it with the money I earned working. And I think there's nothing better than that. And I think part of our generation's problems, I think we have a lot of them. People say it's video games, it's the cell phone. I think being part of this sandwich generation, the one thing that we are all at fault for, it doesn't matter how much money we make or don't make, we all do it. We've spoiled our children and we don't teach them grit. It's far beyond money. I think it's things have to be a little bit hard for them. They need to earn things. It's too easy to just push a button and get DoorDash or have the birthday party you want. And I just feel our generation is at fault, all of us, for compensating for all this stuff that we didn't have. We wanted to make their lives easier, but I think we took away something very, very important. And you just hit that like right on the head, Mark. It's giving them an opportunity to feel what it's like to earn something. And I think if we can walk away from anything today, it's to kind of reflect and think back, am I giving and allowing my kids to receive that feeling of I busted my butt, not only for the grade, but for the paycheck. And I think that's something we do. I know our kids complain nonstop. They're all overworked. And we laugh. We're like, oh my gosh, we work 17-hour days. Like, you're not overworked. You're not that tired. And that's something that I think, and we see this a lot with younger people coming in. They want the 4-day work week. And I get work-life balance. I think it's extremely important to take care of our emotional well-being and our physical well-being. But I also think we cannot be defined by having things be too easy. There's a certain part of our character that will forever be underdeveloped if things are constantly handed to us. I know you agree with this, and I know
I do not agree with this. Well, I agree with the part about the lack of grit. What I don't agree with is work-life balance. I believe that this work-life balance thing is a big ticket to average. That I think if you want to be extraordinary in something, you've got to be out of balance for at least a short period of time to be truly extraordinary. And I think that if you have the people that aspire to work-life balance, especially early in their career, are destined for mediocrity. And what I prefer to change it is, people ask, what is your work life like, and what is your personal life like? And I say, I don't have a work life or a personal life. I just have a life. And I try to go from one thing I love to something I love more to something I love more than that. And if you call that balance in your life, I consider that balance by balancing doing all the things that I want to do. And, I think one of the reasons to become successful in what you can do is so that you have control of your calendar, so you can choose to do what you want. You can choose to work when you want. You can choose to not work when you want. You can choose to take a day off or to lay on the couch and watch a football game or do whatever you want to do, as opposed to a lot of people which have to do things. And that's, I think, one of the challenges of being there. But I think this work-life balance, I think, is that people, that people, example, they want to have all the rewards and riches for putting in the effort, but then don't want to put in the effort. And it's okay. I'm okay if you want to take work-life balance, have a 4-day work week, or do whatever you want, but don't expect to be anything other than average. Mediocrity is your future.
And I don't know if we are always on the same page with exactly what that looks like, but I can't throw a rock at a glass house. I worked 17-hour days for decades to be able to do what we do and invest the way that we invest together now. And I look back and it there was a lot of great stuff that happened. And I figured out, I remember hearing years ago, women can have it all, but they can't have it all at the same time. And I didn't like that answer. So I reinvented that and I traveled with my children and I had my children on stage with me. And I we were part of a team. We created a vision board together. We hit the goal together. And we do that now as a family. We sit down and we understand we'll have a meal together. It might not always be dinner, but if we can grab breakfast or lunch, or we're squeezing it in, or we have to go meet each other somewhere, or even travel to a different state and maybe all be at Indiana, in Indiana for a football game, we're together because it's a family effort. And we talk about that. And I think one of the things that we could all do better is enroll our children in the vision. What is the vision? And when my kids were really small, my son was 5, and I was working crazy hours. I mean, it was insane how much I was working back then. They had that vision too. And I would say, okay, if we're going to go on that Disney trip, if we're going to go to California and see your uncle, if we're going to do that stuff, I need to be on the phone. So the second we're done with dinner, you guys are the cleaning squad. This is what you need to be doing as part of the team. And we do that now. And I think we never said ever to any of our kids, you need to get great grades. It doesn't even exist. We never say that. But every one of them right now, as of this moment, all have a 4.0. All of them. And the reason they have it is they're pulling their weight because they so appreciate how hard we work. And it's not just watching how hard we work. We talk about what we do, why we do it, and how does this affect the whole? And that's their way to contribute and say, hey, I'm playing full out while I have a part-time job. And I'm going above and beyond in community service and giving back. And they all do it. And I think, Mark, that's something that we really do teach at home first. And it might not be the way we both define work-life balance, but we brought something incredible into balance with ever saying to any of them, you have to do this. Because they don't have to do anything, but they get to feel that sense of accomplishment. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I think it's no, that is, I wouldn't add anything to that. I think it's, yeah, you've got to, being handed things is in the long run, it's counterintuitive, but it's you want to make your own way in life. You want to have the pride from the accomplishment that you've had, not what was given to you, but what you've made from yourself. And I think that's a mistake that people make. In fact, I've made that mistake because I wanted the kids to have a better life than I did. And in some ways I got it right. In a lot of ways I could have done better. I could have given them less. So it's, guilty as charged.
And giving them an opportunity now to step up and into it and we say that to them all the time. We probably gave you too much stuff. And here's what it's going to look like going forward. Are you in or are you out? And they choose in. And it's constantly giving a person an opportunity to feel that grit, to feel important, to feel like what they do matters. And it's not always defined by a paycheck. It's sometimes that feeling. And I think we do that incredibly well. I think even with so many of your clients who it's not all about their businesses. It's about what else can they do to have that fulfilling feeling and define success. So, anything else, my love, that you want to add to this incredible show and information?
No, I think I appreciate you. I think you're an outstanding. You're giving Joe Rogan a run for his money because I think you're a tremendous podcast host. And I just my life is richer because you're in it. And I love you and thank you for thank you for being my wife.
I love it. And I love that you said that. And I also want to say for all the people out there who thought of their marriage as a failure, uh, it, it was never a failure to me. It was a get to start over. And I'm so blessed that I get to start over again and again each day with the love of my life and our 5 children. So make today count. Whatever your challenge is, remember, it's an opportunity in disguise. Thank you for joining. I'm Lisa D. Murphy.